if political offices are lucrative, as it were, and juicy, in quote, that is not the problem. That's not INEC's fault.
I'll tell you, I have a job to do. And there's a problem in my executing my job. So the question is, what do I do? It's a problem of INEC to start with, who has to network with others to see how they can solve their problem. Because as an INEC chairman, I want to have free, fair...
Oh, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It creates a problem for INEC. Doesn't mean that it is INEC's fault. No. There are two different things. That political offices are lucrative, and as such, you know, people fight and, you know, cause a very violent environment to get into political office. Makes it difficult or sometimes impossible for INEC to do its job. That's a problem for INEC, but that's not the fault of INEC.
Two of us are saying the same thing from different perspectives. It's not the fault of INEC. I am saying that it stops INEC from achieving 100% in their...
No, I heard
so
you initially.
It's a concern.
Just a moment. I heard you initially trying to blame INEC for this. I mean,
let's assume that I take that back.
It is INEC's fault that you know, the elections...
Let's assume I take that back so that we can continue the conversation, because I'm really not interested in apportioning blame or fault. It's not going to solve any problem.
No, the reason why we're having this conversation is so that we can... It is disturbing that two elections now, back to back, in two different states, in individual states,
the reasons
are not being able... They're not able to conduct these elections conclusively.
Yes.
We should be bothered about that, shouldn't we?
The reasons are, one, the essence of election should bother INEC. And INEC should see what they can do. That's the essence of election. It's a do or die affair. Second thing is that there are players in election processes, and that's the people. INEC, again, should have thought of, what can I do to inform the people, to mobilize the people, to sensitize the people, so that when I go for my next election, the people will be on my side. Sulaiman has just said, somebody has just told us yesterday that there were reports. Why should that be? The Nigerian people should have known. INEC has compiled the report. In fact, INEC is briefing us on what has been, and we are so concerned. INEC has even brought the roadmap, because the whole nation is looking at INEC when it comes to elections, on where to go, on what next to do. So it's a big responsibility, and INEC must own that they sit on the driver's seat to give us free, fair, credible elections.
So,
yes, sir.
You talked about, when Malcolm mentioned the issue of the Resident Electoral Commissioner, talking about how he was shot.
I was trying to address that, but I couldn't.
When you say he must have been imported,
the
question is it INEC that carried out the violence? No, that's settled.
No.
But some citizens were fighting for certain individuals. Why would those citizens choose to put themselves in harm's way for an individual who's supposed to come and serve them? Is it a question of not understanding that the politician is coming to serve them?
Two things. The first is that a dog bites a man, and you ask him, why did the dog bite a man? And the other man decides, why did a man put himself in a position where he could be beaten by a dog? So I want to look at these things from first principles. One is that INEC is vested with a responsibility, and I just want to wake them up to some extent to know that, number one, know that there will be violence because it's a matter of life and death. We know that. Number two, know that the people that you want to work with should be engaged actively. I want to ask you a question, you and I, as we sit today. What gives you the confidence? What gives you the confidence that there will be credible elections coming in the next future? I'll tell you one or two things that will give you the confidence. Number one is that I'm happy that INEC has looked at all the problems, they've analyzed it, and they've come up with a way forward. That's number one. Number two, I ask you a simple question. How do you stop violence? There are two ways you stop violence. You can either threaten the people, or you make it impossible for there to be violence. If you want to threaten the people, Nigerians will tell you, I've heard this before. Since 1999, we've been having elections. Not one person has been committed. So anything you say, forget it. You know, it's going to be the way it's always been. So that's what I tell you. So threatening the people will jail you, laws and those don't work. What works is the miracle that came with the card reader. You and I sat here and saw how the card reader just evolved and almost became a deterrent to, election crimes, and everybody was like, oh Lord, man, these guys have got us. But politicians were working. INEC should have been working. They quickly worked to subvert the situation, because if you continue and improve on card reader, you will stop
the card reader came in. It's not worked in Bayelsa elections. The card reader did not work in many places. Even the permanent cards were cloned.
Yes,
the reports of cloned cards.
I'll tell you.
How did all of that come?
I'll tell you.
That is the citizens.
I'll give you my way forward, because let's see how we can minimize the time or maximize the time we have, because very soon my time will be up. I had a card reader. I put my thumbprint. It tells me this is the right person. Okay, I vote. So what that tells me, that if that thing is meant to really work, if I don't have, even if I clone whatever, if I go and put my finger, I don't accept, the option of you can fill incident form should be like minimized. We are optimizing this. We've reviewed this. We've seen where they had a problem. So we are going to make card readers that really work. What happens? That statement alone sent the boys and said, man, the game is over. Let's look for another business to do. This card reader is going to get better. But if it's going to get worse, the boys are emboldened to come out again. So number one, I tell you that I have been able to solve that problem. This is what we've done. This is what we've got. Come and put your finger. We've tested it. It's now 80% clear. But we are even going to go worse than that. We're going to give you a tablet. We're going to modify that card reader into a tablet form in the second year. In the first year, we're going to bring all the IT gurus, put them together in a house, brainstorm, and come up with, we have ATM cards, we have chips. These things are working. Initially, we're like, but Nigeria has come to accept ATM cards, and it's working. Failures, yes, but that failure rate is not. So I'm going to give you the card reader, and guess what? The card reader is going to be taken to step 2. Instead of being a little device where you put it on print, okay, and it says fine, and I give you paper. No, I'm going to give you a tablet. On that tablet, you put your this thing, it shows, your picture comes up. You flip page 1. You see what should be on that paper. The way you thumbprint on paper, thumbprint there is the same thumbprint. You open page 2, you thumbprint. Page 3, you thumbprint, and you put submit. Do you understand me? In which case, I call you to the place, you have your accreditation, you have your voting. You want to go home, you go home. Do you understand me? Now, all that is here in this system, we take it to our office. And question, how about this and that? That was the essence of bringing in the best of the IT gurus who come back and tell Nigeria, this one that we have finally arrived at is perfect, is fine. The first thing is you disabuse the minds of the people. That is the best way to win a war. When you win the mind war, where the people believe, oh God, the game is up.
Well, we're out of time here, and we do hope we'll keep the conversation going on this particular one, seeing how best we can have a violent, free, and acceptable elections in the days to come. Many thanks, Nya-Etok Ezekiel. He's an architect and a political analyst. Many thanks for speaking with us. So we'll take a moment here. We'll return shortly. Join us again.